In Malaysia, our big shot chuckled at Pushpa's tall tale, thinking, this guy can really spin a yarn. He quickly called an Indian businessman to laugh off Pushpa's lies, and they agreed on 10 tons of timber. Just after hanging up, Pushpa's phone rang again. This time, it was the Indian businessman asking if he had 10 tons of wood to offer. The Malaysian bigwig consoled himself, believing it was mere coincidence. He called another Indian merchant, and Pushpa's phone rang again right after. The big shot made a third call, and this time, the person on the other end said if it's urgent, they could leave a phone. The Malaysian big shot asked if the number left was Pushpa's, and the Indian businessman curiously asked how he knew. The Malaysian big shot didn't answer, silently confirming that Pushpa indeed had the upper hand in the Indian timber smuggling game. He was more than ready to negotiate this lucrative deal. After an exciting round of bargaining, Pushpa rented 2,000 tons of timber to Malaysia. When Pushpa returned to India, his first task was to round up a crew of timber thieves in their trucks. Now he gathered all the Indian timber traders at his place and said he urgently needed a massive amount of wood. Everyone must band together. Someone was puzzled, saying police were strict. Carrying too much cargo on streets could cause trouble. Pushpa confidently replied that sticking with him was foolproof. The bull sheriff was currently lost in a daydream at home when suddenly Black Sister's husband had also been in the timber smuggling trade, but fell victim to Pushpa's dominance. Her brother had died in that incident, and her husband was caught, leaving her in a perpetual gloomy state. After learning that Pushpa was moving 2,000 tons of goods, Black Sister begrudgingly sought out the bald sheriff. With her determination, she reignited his fight, and he started. Black Sister revealed where Pushpa's crew was and provided a shipping route. The bald sheriff immediately rallied the officers to prepare for action, aiming to intercept all shipments before they could pass through. After confirming their whereabouts, the bald sheriff decided to use one sacrifice to threaten Pushpa's crew. The funeral was held in heavy rain. Afterward, Sheila went to the police station, asked the bald sheriff if he killed GY. The sheriff smiled, saying everyone knew he feared falling into the river. For peace in India, Sheila offered 100 million rupees to the bald sheriff, but he felt it wasn't enough to humiliate him. He kicked everyone out of the room, commanding Sheila to strip off everything she was wearing, stating that if she wanted to accept the compensation, she'd have to be as exposed as a potato, no other choices. Under pressure for negotiation, Pushpa apologized publicly at the bald's party, reluctant but thinking of the 500 tons held. Pushpa knew he had to apologize, got drunk, and went to the bald man's party. GY thought Pushpa, with his pride, could never submit. Even the bald sheriff had low expectations. To everyone's surprise, Pushpa actually apologized publicly today. For him, it was an embarrassing fight. The bald sheriff, feeling smoke over Pushpa's apology, was hit into the water by a car. Pushpa then peed into the water, leaving the dazed sheriff still confused after rescue. After a long while, he realized that he had just been peed on by Pushpa, and all this time, Pushpa remained floating in the water. He kept bobbing up and down in the water until the bald sheriff was finally retrieved, realizing he had indeed been urinated on, causing the atmosphere to grow tense. Struggling to contain his anger, the bald sheriff knew Pushpa still had 500 tons of goods in hand. Subtitles. Facing the provocation from the bald man, Pushpa did not back down at all, boldly stating that if he just got hold of a single piece of wood, he would abandon the entire gang, and then promptly picked up an axe, as if encouraging himself right there in the forest. With the night of the wager drawing near, they prepared daily for the impending events. The night before, the bald sheriff patrolled the border and coincidentally heard a stray. He tossed an empty bottle into the river and heard a different sound from the splash, more like the sound of stones being struck. Realizing the river was suddenly devoid of water, the bald sheriff dashed to the riverbank for a closer look. He discovered that there wasn't a single drop of water. He realized he had been duped. Pushpa's gang hadn't taken the route everyone thought, but had slipped away through a different water. Realizing this, the bald sheriff scrambled to pursue toward the border, launching a counter-attack at Pushpa's crew. However, Pushpa's minions had already blocked his path. As time passed, their accomplices escaped via the waterway, opened the sluice gates, flooding the river and blocking the bald sheriff, with only 4 km left for the timber to cross the border. The bald sheriff revealed his trump card. They drove a herd of oxen from the nearby border to surround the cargo. Pushpa had nowhere to run, and his men scrambled to escape. The bald sheriff, feeling triumphant, ignored the surrounding turmoil. At the station, he replayed Pushpa's threatening video, remembering his earlier humility. But just as he was about to celebrate, the bald sheriff realized that the cargo they had intercepted wasn't the stuff bound for the border at all, but rather a ton of low-quality timber. At that time, they realized it was staged. Pushpa's goods had crossed the border and made provocative gestures when confronted by the bald sheriff. The bald sheriff had to retreat helplessly, while Pup grinned indifferently as the bald sheriff had nothing but childish resistance in his arsenal. Back then, Pup remarked that all it took was to catch one piece of wood, and he'd go thank the forest. Though they had caught a heap of scrap wood, who said scrap couldn't have. Just when the bald sheriff was getting cocky, unexpectedly, the pile of scrap wood exploded, flames bursting into existence. In the end, the bald sheriff got no wood. Besides safely escorting the cargo across the border, he got nothing in return. It felt like a tragedy. Pup didn't care at all and was instead overjoyed. During the celebrations, it was revealed that his wife was pregnant. However, some unpleasant events unfolded at the party, where someone shamelessly teased Pup's niece, showing blatant disrespect. Pup's father also looked away. The men didn't dare face the music, and in the end, felt utterly helpless. The ones stepping up were all brave souls unwilling to stay silent. After hearing his wife's words, Pup finally let go of his concerns, embracing his self-importance. He was capable of working with his brothers and with an unborn child, but status no longer mattered. Meanwhile, the bald sheriff, Giant Chang, and Black Sister were evidently not ready to back down. They approached higher Indian authorities to unveil Pup's plan to nominate Sheila as the new president. Upon hearing this news, the leaders were astonished, not understanding how Sheila, clearly not the best candidate, could be nominated as the new president. The bald man accused Pup of selfishness, smuggling large cargo across the border, forcing a search of nearby islands. The leaders also disapproved of such immense power, and people began showing support for the bald sheriff's plan. When the bald sheriff and his crew patrolled to the island dock, there wasn't a single piece of wood left. Frustrated, he jumped into the sea to search.